The dictionary data type. The dictionary data type is a mutable collection of many values. By mutable, I mean it's changeable. It creates indexes that can use many data types, and the indexes are called keys. A key with an associated value is called a key-value pair. So think of this as you have keys, or these could really be variables. This is a name of a value for the dictionary. And then over here you have the actual value. So a dictionary is a container of multiple variables with multiple values. A key will be a string. So if you notice over here, all the keys are a string to define the variable name. And the value can be a string, integer, float, or a variable name. We don't have a variable name in this example, but we'll look at that in the next slide. Key value pairs are comma separated and contained within curly braces. So we create the dictionary object. We start with an opening curly brace. We define all the keys and their values. We put a colon between the key and the value, and we put a comma to separate each key value pair. Using variables with dictionaries. So in this example, we see some dictionary keys. Device type, IP, port, name, password. And here we see strings, or in this case we have an integer. We can also replace them with variables, but to do it this way, somewhere before this dictionary, we have to identify the contents of those variables. So let's take a look at that. Somewhere before this, I would need something saying d_type is equal to something. IP is equal to something. Port is equal to something. Name is equal to something. Password, PW, is equal to something. And the formats. Indentation and new lines are used in dictionaries for readability. They're not required for functionality. So you can look here at this top left one, top right. We see it all formatted nicely. We put a new line in between them. We have them all organized in a nice, neat column. We could do it this way as well. It's just not as readable. So let's take a quick look at this in VS Code. So here's the program that I've already given to you, device login.py. Now I'm running the lab on my own PC, so I'm using the public, I'm not using the public IP that I've given to you. If you're on campus, you can use this address. But I've defined my 5 keys and their values. And how this works is now when I reference these values, I can specify my dictionary name right here. So now I'm creating a connection object based on these values. And then I can create a connection, and then I'll call the prompt and I'll print it. So let's just run this and look at how it works. So I'll run it without debugging. And in a second or so, it should log into that device, and it did indeed print the prompt for that device. Now, if I wanted to use variables, I could do it just as easily. So let me come up here and I'll say device type. Let me just say IP. IP is equal to 192.168.12.172. Now here I can replace the string value for IP with the actual text or the variable name IP. And then I can do the same thing for port, or let's just do name and password. Username, name is going to be equal to, and I'm using a different username and password than what you'll be using for the actual lab that you use in class. So username is going to be student, and I can, PW, I will make. So here's some variable names. So now instead of the string student, I will pass the variable name. And then for password, I will pass the variable PW. And since this is the end of my key value string, my key value pairs, I don't really need that comma there. So now let me run this again. And now it's pulling the values from the variables, and it did indeed again execute. One other thing, I'm going to go ahead. You can always, if your terminal gets too big with a bunch of stuff and you can't really see where you are, and you can kill your terminal and start it over. So now let's do it with debugging, and now we can actually look at each of these values too. Because I always like to emphasize debugging because it's not used enough by students. Run, I will run it with debugging now, and we'll look at each of these key values as my program executes. And right now device contains really nothing. It's shown as a dictionary, but it doesn't really have anything populated into it. When I execute this line, it doesn't really show the values. Okay, but now will it show this? It's not going to highlight that, but actually when I go here to debug, it will actually show you that IP is equal to this. And as I keep going through the code, let me see, it still does not show that. That's all right. But what it does show is once I've run through this, I actually see the values here. The key value. And let's see what happens here. Go to the next line. And actually when I go in here, now I can actually see all the key values that are passed on to my connect handler object. And this is how I'm going to connect to each device. And every time I want to reference that connection, I will call the variable named netConnect. So now if I want to call the prompt, I create a new variable called prompt, and it's going to use the netConnect object, and it's going to call the find prompt function of that object, and it will indeed return the prompt. And then as I go down through here a little bit, I don't really know what the prompt is yet, and I should have actually done another dot here. So let's look at that and see if it'll. So now we actually can see, since I put a breakpoint right here, it actually shows that the value of prompt is this right here. And it did indeed print the